Hello, this is another video in how to create a fighting fantasy style novel in AGS. We're going to code up our second player creation screen, which uses skill points that we can spend. So let's begin with the coding. So we need these numbers represent our current skill value in each field. So at the moment, our weaponry skill is 1, first aid is 1, lockpicking is 1, and but we need those to display our current value at runtime, because what we're going to do is, as we press these buttons, we want this number to update and change, and we also want this number to update and change as we spend our points. So I don't think I'll just delete that. Let's create a new variable, and we're going to call this skill points. And we're going to store our skill points in this variable. Now we're going to start default 12, but you can change it to whatever you like. We could create a new room for our second player screen, but I think what we'll do is we'll just render this GUI over the top of the previous one. So if we go to the bottom of our the top level of our GUI and change the Z order to 2, and likewise if I just go to our first previous screen and I'll set that to 1. So that just means that the PlayerCreation2 GUI will be rendered over the top. So if we go back to our first GUI creation screen, player creation screen, and click on the continue button and click on the events tab, you can see that we already have an on-click event. So I'll just click on that. It'll open the global script and take us exactly where it is. So what we'll do is we'll do g creation2 dot visible equals true. So it's going to display our new GUI and switch off the previous one. That's exactly what we need. So we can go to our room script. Now we already have a lot in our repeatedly execute function of our room, and that's perfectly fine, because this is all happening every frame of our game, but it's only going to be doing this when we're in this room. So once we leave this room, all of this stops. So which is perfect. So I'm going to do a comment, 2 forward slashes, and I'll just say player creation screen 2. So everything that's going to be below this comment is going to be for the second player creation screen. So let's start rendering these variables that we're storing into these text fields of our labels. So we've all given them unique names so we can manipulate them in script. So that one's called L points. So let's get that working. So L points dot text, because we're updating the text property of that label, equals string dot format and then we're going to use a %d, because that's the symbol for taking an integer variable, a number variable, and placing it into the text field. And we do a comma, and now what it needs is the name of the variable that we're collecting that data from. So if we look at our global variables, you can see here we have skill points. So we want to display the value in that text field. So we'll do skill points. So now that label is going to be displaying whatever our current value, skill points value is, every frame of the game when it's in this room. We also need to do the same for all of these. So I roughly can remember what what the labels are all named. So L weapon skill dot text equals string dot format, and it's %d, comma, and we want to use the skill underscore weapon. So we're going to grab the variable from our skill underscore weapon and place it in there. And then we're going to do aid, I think is the next label, dot text equals, that's supposed to be equals, string dot format, and then %d again, comma, and it's skill underscore first aid. Then the next one is pick, I think it is, pick skill dot text equals string dot format, and it's a %d again, comma, and it's skill underscore lockpicking. Then we have L perception, I think it is, per skill dot text equals string dot format %d, and it's skill underscore perception. And last but not least is L bluff skill dot text equals string dot format, and it's %d, comma, and skill underscore bluff. So these labels are all now taking their data at real time from our global variables that we have stored there. So let's start spending these points. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this button. Let's increase our weaponry skill. So if I click on the events tab and on the on click on that. Now I generally try and avoid putting too much in the global scripts file because it's already a big file and it only gets bigger as you work on the game, and by the end of it it'll be very big. But in this case it's kind of unavoidable. So it's going to be very simple scripting. We're going to do skill points minus minus. That simply means that we're subtracting a single number from that skill points variable. And we're going to do skill underscore weapon plus plus, which means we're adding a single number to our skill weapon. Now that would work. This is perfectly fine. It works, but we could actually run out of points and keep spending these points. So we'll go into a minus value, and we can indefinitely increase our weapon skill to whatever we like. So we need to make a check, an if statement. So if skill points is greater than 0, then do this. So if our skill points ever reach 0, then this will not do anything. It has to be greater than 0. So that'll stop us spending points once we've run out. So let's go back to our screen and let's do the decrease. So on click event. So we'll do skill points plus plus because we want to put a point back into our pool. And we're going to do skill underscore weapon minus minus because we're subtracting a point from it. And again, we don't want to be able to just subtract minus values from our skill weapon and have infinite number of skill points. We need to do another check. So if skill underscore weapon is greater than, now we know that this may be different for your game. Your game you might want your stats to be at 0 at their lowest, but in this example, the lowest that this skill can be is 1. So if skill weapon is greater than 1, basically do this. So if our say our weapon skill is 2, then it will do this. And then once it reaches 1, this will not do anything. So the tedious part now is to do the same for all of our buttons for our skills. So if skill points is greater than 0, skill points minus minus skill underscore first aid plus plus, do the subtract. So if skill underscore first aid is greater than 1, skill points plus plus skill underscore first aid minus minus. We'll do the next skill, lockpicking. So if skill points is greater than 0, skill points plus plus skill underscore lockpicking minus minus. Then we'll do the subtract. If skill underscore lockpicking is greater than 1, skill points plus plus skill underscore lockpicking minus minus. And then perception. If skill points is greater than 0, skill points plus plus minus minus, sorry, skill underscore perception plus plus. Sorry. I'm still suffering from a bad sore throat. And then we'll do the low decrease. If skill underscore perception is greater than 1, skill points plus plus skill underscore perception minus minus, do bluff, last skill. So if skill points is greater than 0, skill points minus minus skill underscore bluff plus plus, and finally the subtract. If skill underscore bluff is greater than 1, skill points plus plus skill underscore bluff minus minus. So that's everything working, and all the values should be nice and clamped. So if we do a test and run it, continue. So this is our second player screen. So let's spend some points. So we're increasing our weapon skill variable. So we're storing this value in the variable, and then it's displaying it at runtime. I think I've got this the wrong way around for the lockpicking. Yeah, so we shall sort that out. Skill points minus minus, and that's going to be plus plus. and that should be right. Just do another test. That's the problem with this kind of coding, is that monotony can create error if you're doing something over and over again. So let's go to the top. So 13, we've run out of points, we can't increase it anymore. Let's go back down. So we can't go below 1 because that's our default. So we can put a few points here and there. Run out of points. We have a fairly average kind of guy there. So let's take these points away. So there's a few more little cleanup things that we need to do. So if I click continue, well, we should be going to the next page. If I just do that quickly. So if I click on the continue button, click on the on event tab and on click, and it will create our button function. And we'll just do gcreation2.visible equals false. So we're going to hide the GUI, and then we're just going to do a simple player.changeRoom, and we're going to change it our player to page 1, which is that. Because we're not using player sprites or anything like that, we don't need to change, set particular room coordinates or a facing direction. So just the room number is perfectly fine. So here we go. Continue, continue. And there we go. Here's our first page, which could be your intro or cutscene or just your first page of your book. Now, we managed, though, to skip through those player creation screens without having to roll any dice or spend any points. So that's not good. So if we click on our continue button on our second player creation screen and click on the on-click event, that'll take us straight to where it is. We need to create an if statement. So if now we know that we have 12 points to spend. So if skill points is greater than 0, then what we need to do is, if it's greater than 0, we still have points to spend. So we're going to do a display, and we're going to display some text to the player. It'll just say, please spend all skill points. And then what we'll do is, if we leave it like this, it'll display our text, and then it will still go down here and fire these two strings of code. So what we need to do is we need to do a return. So as the game runs down the script, it'll display this, and then the return stops any more code from firing. So it takes you out. It will take the computer out of this function and just stop. So that's fine. But we also need to do something for this as well, because we want the player to have to roll dice and add a player name. So in our first player GUI screen, creation screen, we're going to click on the continue button, click on the on-click event, and that'll take us to where it is, which is here. So similarly, we'll do if. So we know that the stamina, skill, and the sanity are have a default value of 0, and the player name has a default value that's blank. So if stamina equals 0, i.e. no dice has been rolled, or, now that's the symbol for or, those two lines, that's the key that's next to your Z key, skill equals 0, or sanity equals 0, we're going to display some text, and it will be please roll for your stats. And then we'll do another check, similarly again, if player name, because that's the variable that we created, player name, if player name equals, and it's nothing because it's a blank, we defaulted it as blank, then display please enter a name. And again, we need to do a return for all of these things. So return. So let's test it. So let's just try and leave this page without doing anything. Continue. So please roll your dice, your stats. So I'll roll a stamina. Still complaining. Still complaining. Now it's saying please enter your name. So Jeff Bob, and we'll continue. So let's try and continue without spending any points. So please spend all your skill points. This is a horrible text box. We'll change that. So let's spend a few points. So we have 1 point to spend left, and it's still complaining. Spend it, and we're on the page. So that's perfect. So one last little cleanup. When we move our mouse over this button, the highlight works, but again the text isn't changing color. So what we'll do is we'll just go to the room script file, and I'm just going to put it down here. So the button name is B next to. So we'll just do if button dot get at screen xy mouse dot x mouse dot y. So if the mouse's XY position is over an object called B next to, we'll get rid of that. Then we're going to change the color B next to dot text color, and it's going to be 50804. Otherwise, if the mouse's current position isn't over the button, it's just going to be B next to dot text color, and it's going to be the low kind of dark green color 079. So let's run this and have a look. I'll just continue. Oh yes, forgot about that. He's going to be a master lockpicker. You know, I didn't even notice. I didn't even notice that the. Let me do that again. Okay, that's not working. B next to. Oh, there we go. That would make a big difference. There we go. So that's working now. And we can spend all our points and continue. So that's all of our player creation screens coded up and ready to go. We've created a player creation screen that requires dice rolling and storing those values. And we also have a second player creation screen that requires you to spend points. So it's a different way of doing things. And I think that's a good place to leave it. Hopefully we'll do something a bit more fun and a bit more gamey in the next video. So I'll see you then. Bye.